and welcome to Saint Lucia Magazine, your weekly news program bringing you the latest updates on key developments in healthcare, education, infrastructure, the environment, and the economy. I'm your host, Betula Olibert. In this week's edition, the Minister for Tourism provides an assessment of the recently concluded Jazz and Arts Festival, and the Customs and Excise Department prepares for the delayed impact of U.S. tariffs. In the top story, the Minister for Tourism assessed the Saint Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival and provided recommendations for future events. Kishma Serrier has more.
The curtains came down on the Saint Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival on Sunday, May 11th, marking the grand finale of 3 weeks of electrifying performances and artistic flair. The island pulsed with energy as both international stars and homegrown talent took to the stage, drawing enthusiastic crowds to venues across the country. Ahead of the official review, the Minister for Tourism, Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire, offered an initial assessment of the festival during a pre-cabinet press briefing, sharing his insights into what he described as a vibrant and successful showcase.
I think the performances were great. Some persons expressed their disappointment in one of the performances, but largely the performances were fantastic. The attendance was unbelievable. I think for every event, including the arts event, the turnout was really, really good. And you have to be thankful for that. So good that some people say it was AI generated, but you expect that kind of comeback.
While the Saint Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival continues to grow in scale and popularity, questions are once again being raised about whether the festival can keep up with its expansion. Pigeon Island, the long-standing home of the festival's headline acts, remains under scrutiny, with ongoing concerns about the preservation of the historic grounds as well as the layout. However, is Saint Lucia poised to create the necessary infrastructure to match the growth? Addressing the issue, the minister offered the following remarks.
I mean, that's our biggest worry. It's actually not my portfolio responsibility, but it is something we always put on the table. The infrastructure must be able to support the growth. Sometimes you can use that growth to propel the infrastructural improvement because it forces the infrastructure to respond to the demands of the growth. So yes, it is a big worry. The road network, how are we going to move? If we're going to have 3,000 more rooms just in the north, how are we going to move people up to the north and move around? The water supply, the electricity, there's so much that we need to make sure that the infrastructure can support it. Well, my role is to bring in the numbers and bring in the investment. So I'm sure on the other side, my colleagues are equally captivated with the necessity to make sure the infrastructure can support the growth. And Saint Lucia is trending. We're trending in tourism and investment. There is deep interest in Saint Lucia. There's a lot going on to try to undermine, the image and reputation of Saint Lucia, but we are working hard constantly, every day, to ensure that that does not succeed.
For the Government Information Service, I am Kishma Serrier.
And right on the heels of the Jazz Festival, the government of Saint Lucia has launched Lucian Junior Carnival with an objective to preserve Saint Lucia's culture. The Carnival Planning Management Committee launched Lucian Junior Carnival last week Thursday with an overarching objective to increase youth involvement in the cultural festival in order to improve the quality and ensure the sustainability of Saint Lucia's unique cultural heritage. Head of the CPMC, Tamara Gibson, listed the activities planned for this year's Junior Carnival.
So we will start with the schools Calypso competition, which is on the 6th of June. On the afternoon of the 6th, we will hold our very first schools soca competition, and we're very, very excited about this one. On Saturday the 7th, we will see the schools Pan Festival. And of course, we have the Junior Parade of Bands on the 13th of July. But before we get to all of that, we have the school store, which last year was our first year, and it was successful and well received by the schools. So we're doing it again, and we're due to start next week.
Coordinator of Junior Music Competitions, Jason Batchelor Joseph, provided a bit more insight into the song competitions.
Right, so the actual preparations actually begin tomorrow. We have a workshop, a voice and performance workshop. It's something that we do every year. So in the morning, we are having a workshop with the Calypsonians. The workshop helps them to sing better and to perform better generally. And in the afternoon for the soca participants. And then after that, we have rehearsals that should be starting with the band shortly after.
Minister for Tourism, Investment, Creative Industries, Culture and Information, Honorable Dr. Ernest Hilaire, explained the government's vision for the annual celebration.
Our role in the ministry is really to provide the policy direction and what is the government's position on Carnival in this particular instance, and to provide that guidance to CPMC. Before we even start way in advance, I usually sit with Tammy and I ask her basically what we're going to do different this year, how are we going to grow, because you cannot remain static. For you to stay relevant, for you to stay on focus, and of course you have your long-term goals. Each year you must ask yourself, how can you be better than last year? Right. And what new will you be doing? What new will you add to make sure that the vibe is there, make sure that you are growing and you are better than you were in the last year. The school tour, for example, is a really, really exciting addition and something which is necessary if we speak about sustainability and if we speak about cultural preservation. The Junior Carnival is really the foundation for what we have. One deficiency we still need to focus heavily on is how we can get as many schools as possible to have their own shows, their own activities to broaden the base. Because the broader your base, the better the quality that will come out.
The 5 main events on the Lucian Junior Carnival timeline of activities are a schools tour from May 19th to 30th, a National Schools Calypso competition on June 6th, National Schools Soca competition on June 6th, National Schools Pan Fest on June 7th, and the Parade of the Bands on Saturday, July 13th. St. Lucians are being advised to prepare for rising costs and to manage spending wisely as the Customs and Excise Department braces for the delayed impact of U.S. trade tariffs.
They may still appear as ordinary shipments, but behind every container offloaded at Port Castries lies a growing sense of economic uncertainty. That uncertainty stems from thousands of miles away in Washington, D.C., where President Donald Trump's renewed tariff policies are reshaping global trade dynamics. While customs officials confirm that the full impact has yet to reach St. Lucia's shores, small businesses are already on the edge as warning signs emerge. Inspector Gilroy Polius, head of the Risk Management Unit at the Customs and Excise Department, says the department is keeping a close watch on the evolving trade tensions.
We've been seeing a trend foreign, externally, especially in the United States, where you've been seeing prices starting to go up. But again, what happens is that when we purchase from the US, when importers purchase from the US and these goods arrive here, until that doesn't happen, we will not really see an impact coming in as yet.
Polius explained that there is a typical delay between when global price shifts occur and when their effects are felt locally. For small shop owners and suppliers, this means bracing for upcoming price increases on a wide range of goods, from electronics to everyday essentials, much of which are sourced through the United States.
There is a ministerial task force in place to address the issues that are the expected outcome of this trade war. Customs don't really create policy, we enforce policy. The policymakers are the ones who give us the direction, and then the department now responds to it.
As the government assesses its options, Polius is advising citizens to take practical steps now. With imported food costs likely to rise, he's encouraging local farmers to scale up production and households to consider growing what they can to reduce dependency on imported goods.
I would tell people to be prepared for it. If you're watching your news, if you're paying attention to what's happening on the international scale, prices are going up. We're talking about expected inflation, you're talking about an expected recession, and during times of recession and during times of inflation, which pretty much go hand in hand, you will basically find spending will go down. If you see goods coming in, you're going to find more goods that are of a lesser quality than what you would normally buy because the prices have gone up. And you will also see a restriction in the amount of imports that are coming in, so people will spend less. So my advice to individuals is pay attention to your spending. Do not spend recklessly, because we will feel the impact of this trade war. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
As Saint Lucia anticipates the local effects of a shifting global trade environment, the Customs Department remains vigilant, working alongside national stakeholders to ensure readiness and resilience. For the National Competitiveness and Productivity Council, Glenn Simon reporting.
This is Saint Lucia Magazine. Coming up, the government discusses business process outsourcing with the private sector. Please stay tuned.
The government of Saint Lucia, in collaboration with the Global Green Growth Institute, announces the commencement of the first in a series of sustainable finance training courses. This first course, titled Fundamentals of Sustainable Finance and Environmental, Social, and Governance, is now open for registration.
As Director of Finance, I'm pleased to endorse this critical training program. This is an investment in our institutions, our resilience, and our ability to deliver a more sustainable future for Saint Lucia.
The Sustainable Finance Training Program stands as our flagship initiative, recognizing the critical need to equip financial professionals with the knowledge and skills necessary to unlock climate financing.
I endorse the Saint Lucia training program to build capacity to access climate finance, to increase Saint Lucia's resilience and its ability to respond to the impacts of climate change.
Financial sector institutions, public sector agencies, businesses, NGOs, and CBOs are invited to nominate their staff to register for the course. Register today.
Welcome back. The government of St. Lucia and the private sector have met to discuss investments in the business process outsourcing sector. Melissa Paul has more.
The government of St. Lucia, in partnership with the private sector investors, has prioritized the development of the business process outsourcing sector, or the BPO sector, as a vital component of its economic strategy, with a focus on creating meaningful employment opportunities for young people.
In terms of other developments, KM2 Solutions, a leading business process outsourcing BPO company, is expanding its operations in Saint Lucia with a major investment in the Orange Grove building. As part of this expansion, the company plans to create 500 new jobs initially, with further growth expected to generate an additional 500 jobs.
One notable project is the establishment of a new BPO facility in Otabor. This expansion aligns with the government's broader plan to promote constituency development, reduce unemployment, and diversify the economy beyond traditional sectors like tourism and agriculture.
This initiative aims to provide opportunities for residents and contribute to the gradual development of the business ecosystem on the west coast of St. Lucia. Once DC approval is given, construction of the facility will commence. Mr. Speaker, these investments have the potential for hundreds of jobs, especially for the young people of St. Lucia.
Invest St. Lucia is actively working with operators to establish these BPO facilities, which will include training initiatives to prepare residents with the necessary skills. The Otabor BPO is expected to generate up to 1,000 new jobs, providing significant employment opportunities to residents and fueling economic activity in the constituency of ancillary canneries.
St. Lucia's Ministry of Health reviews the health sector disaster management plan, aiming to strengthen resilience against public health emergencies and natural disasters. Onika McCoy has the details.
In a proactive move to bolster health emergency preparedness and response capacity, St. Lucia is undertaking a critical review of its National Multi-Hazard Health Sector Disaster Management Plan. This initiative forms part of a 5-day workshop designed to integrate multi-hazard preparedness with pandemic response planning. The workshop, supported by the Pan-American Health Organization PAHO, aims to equip the Ministry of Health and disaster management stakeholders with updated tools, frameworks, and strategies. Participants will benefit from in-depth training sessions, expert presentations, and collaborative discussions that focus on revising and developing an updated pandemic preparedness plan. According to Joanne Passard, advisor for health emergencies at the Pan American Health Organization, while disaster management requires a multi-sectoral approach, the Ministry of Health plays a vital role in responding to communicable diseases. She explained the focus of the current workshop, which aims to strengthen both the National Multi-Hazard Response Plan and the Pandemic Preparedness Plan.
PAHO is on a constant part to support our participating member countries to strengthen disaster resilience. All types of disasters or hazards, as the case may be, both natural, as in hurricanes, volcanoes, earthquakes, etc., and non-natural or biological, as in the case of communicable diseases or outbreaks. So that part that we're on means that we have a continuous program of capacity building and program development. Part of that is strengthening and upgrading the health disaster, multi-hazard disaster and emergency management plan. So we're looking at the multi-hazard plan, which is the overarching document that speaks to coordinating mechanisms, roles and responsibilities of all the institutions within the health sector and elsewhere.
The unprecedented convergence of natural disasters and public health emergencies, including the COVID-19 pandemic, exposed key gaps in coordination, planning, and response mechanisms. The workshop aims to address these gaps by equipping national health authorities and disaster management stakeholders with updated tools, which includes PAHO's Strategic Tool for Assessing Risk, STAR, and the World Health Organization's Preparedness and Resilience for Emerging Threats, PRET framework.
This multi-hazard plan review has been funded by the World Bank through the OACS Regional Health Project, and that project aims to look at strengthening capacity building resilience for our health sector to relate to disasters.
And in more health news, the Millennium Heights Medical Complex participated in the 7th Global Ministerial Summit on Patient Safety.
The Millennium Heights Medical Complex, MHMC, is taking strategic steps to elevate healthcare safety and quality in Saint Lucia, following its active participation in the 7th Global Ministerial Summit on Patient Safety, held at the Asian Development Bank headquarters in Manila, Philippines, from April 3rd to the 4th, 2025. Themed Weaving Strengths for the Future of Patient Safety Throughout the Healthcare Continuum, the summit brought together ministers of health, senior healthcare professionals, and international experts to discuss best practices and future priorities for the implementation of the Global Patient Safety Action Plan of 2021-2030. The St. Lucian delegation included Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmar-George and Acting Director of Clinical Services at MHMC, Dr. Wayne Felicier. Dr. Felicier emphasized the immense relevance of the summit's outcomes to MHMC's mandate of strengthening clinical governance and cultivating a patient-centered care model.
At that conference, what was highlighted is the global push towards ensuring patient safety. And when we speak of patient safety, we look at the different levels of where patients access healthcare, both at the primary healthcare sector, the tertiary sector, and the governance sector. And you really want to ensure that safety is understood along all its spectrum, where it's not only the care, but ensuring that patients are adequately diagnosed, adequately treated, adequately cared for within an environment that they are not only safe in terms of infrastructure, but safe from ill treatment, whether verbal, physical, or otherwise.
He further noted that MHMC, led by the Owen King EU Hospital, is at the forefront of institutional transformation that prioritizes global healthcare standards and continuous patient involvement.
We've moved away from patients not knowing and not being responsible for their healthcare to it moving to a patient-centered healthcare approach. We're in a day of artificial intelligence. We're in an age of patients who are knowledgeable, empowered, and educated. So you want them to be more responsible for their care, and you want them more invested in their levels of care.
Dr. Felician also reiterated the importance of minimizing medical errors, noting that every effort is being made to ensure a zero-harm environment in the delivery of healthcare services.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break.
It's hurricane season. Know the BBCs of water safety. Boil or bleach and clean. Boil. Bring water to a rolling boil for at least 5 minutes. Cool and then use immediately or store in a clean container and seal until needed for use. Bleach. If you cannot boil water, use 8 drops of unscented bleach for each gallon of water. Stir and let stand for 30 minutes. Use immediately or store in a clean container and seal until needed for use. Clean. Always clean all containers with bleach and wash out thoroughly before storing water in them.
This message brought to you courtesy the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Agriculture is implementing measures to mitigate the effect of an influx of sargassum on the livelihood of fisherfolk. We hear more in this report.
As the seasonal arrival of Sagasum seaweed continues to shape coastal activity, the Department of Fisheries is assuring the public that measured steps are already in motion to manage the Sagasum season efficiently and support those whose livelihoods are most affected. Deputy Chief Fisheries Officer Thomas Nelson says while the Agriculture Ministry is concerned about the potential challenges fisherfolk may experience navigating and landing their crafts, this year's influx is not being regarded as a crisis, but is seen as an opportunity for the fisheries sector to pivot. According to him, Sagasum supports the livelihoods of fishers in that it attracts many species of fish, such as dolphin fish, jacks, as well as flying fish in some instances. This is evident and supported by local fishers who claim increased catch around the Sagasum mats. In light of this, the Department of Fisheries has adopted a calm, coordinated response to this year's inundation of Sagasum.
In terms of some of the challenges, they are not insurmountable because the ministry over the years have prepared to a certain extent for the management of Sagasum. We have developed Sagasum management plans in collaboration with a number of agencies. We have been partnering with national, regional, and international agencies to provide support for the management of Sagasum. And we will continue to do that at the end of the day. So it is not a lost cause. Certainly we will continue to provide support to our fisher folk, recognizing that there may be increases in fish landings. The ministry has provided ice machines as well as ice bins to support these potential increases that will continue to allow for fishers to store their fish and therefore make fish available for the communities at large.
The Department of Fisheries remains focused on 3 key strategies: maintaining safe access for fishers, supporting post-harvest handling to reduce spoilage, and engaging national and regional partners to explore longer-term solutions for the fisheries sector and for food security.
And to wrap up our broadcast, the month of May is being observed as National Reading Month. Key Battalion has more.
St. Lucians are being called to turn the page on how we connect with one another throughout and beyond Reading Month 2025. This year, activities for the annual observance were launched at the Dennery Infant School under the theme Read for Mutual Understanding with a tagline Connecting People and Faire Connaissance. Placing focus on multilingual education, Minister Honorable Sean Edward invited citizens of all ages to read with purpose, encouraging students, teachers, and parents to embrace reading not just as a skill, but a lifelong passion.
There is more to reading than you identifying the words on your tablets or in the book. We want that when you engage the print, you understand what you are reading. During this time, schools invite parents, education officials, stakeholders, and even businesses in the community to come and work with them as they roll out activities for Reading Month. Because the schools, the teachers, the principals, they want you to appreciate reading.
In alignment with UNESCO's 2024 Declaration on Multilingual Education, Saint Lucia has introduced Creole instruction in school, reinforcing the commitment to embracing the island's cultural heritage and a language which shapes society. The month-long calendar of activities is curated to include film, musical, and virtual experiences. Non-verbal communication will also be highlighted with Creole reading, sign language, and polyglot days. Chief Education Officer Beverly Diodoni reflected on the impact of diversity in reading selections.
Through stories, we encounter voices that differ from our own. We come face to face with diverse cultures, histories, and experiences. We begin to understand how others think, and so we develop an understanding for each other. Students, teachers, this month, let us be deliberate in choosing books that foster respect, promote dialogue, and inspire compassion.
Parents and guardians are encouraged to help build strong literacy foundations from an early age through one of the most powerful tools for learning and imagination.
And this brings us to the end of this edition of Saint Lucia Magazine. Special thanks to all who contributed to this production: the National Television Network, the GIS team, and the communications officers across our ministries. And thank you, our viewers, for joining us on NTN Channel 122 and on the official social media pages of the Government of St. Lucia. I am Petula Olibert. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, as we look forward to more positive developments in the week ahead.